Hey, Tom, it's an honor to be speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I want to talk about this new album, Science Fiction. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the new album?
Because I sort of avoided working in pop music for a while. Something kind of got me back into that arena, and I realized how much I enjoyed it. And I also started playing some of the old Thompson's hits live. And I thought, well, the next thing really is I have to contemporize that by writing some new songs. Suddenly, I've got an album in front of me, and I'm very, very happy with it. So here it is, Science Fiction.
Yeah, it's not only your first solo album, which is hard to believe, but the first album in quite a while for you with this kind of more pop sound that people of your early stuff are used to.
That's right. I've been doing other things, of course. People accusing me of lying by a pool for 30 years or something. It hasn't been like that. But you're right. I haven't worked in the kind of mainstream pop area, so that's why people haven't been aware of a lot of what I do. And it's necessary as a creative artist. You have to go and face the challenges that you want to face, or that come up for you. So I have done lots of other things, but I'm very, very happy to have re-encountered that kind of the special disciplines and thrills and pleasures of the 3-minute, 15-second pop song. To me, it's a wonderful thing. It's like a haiku or a sonnet or something.
Well, yeah, I know you've been busy in the interim, but you mentioned some of the challenges. What's changed for you as far as your approach to writing, like these 3-minute songs? Is it tough to kind of get back into that mind frame?
Well, I pretty much picked up where I left off because this thing of there being particular skills, like having to get to the chorus quite quickly, and it has to be foot tapping, it has to have a sing-along element, and yet be about something that's worth thinking about. Those are things that you don't really encounter when you're doing, more experimental forms, where you can afford yourself the luxury of like a 3-minute intro to a piece of music. That doesn't happen in pop music. You have to be very, very direct. And so there are skills involved in achieving that. And I kind of realized that if I had any skills at all, I developed those in the 80s when I was doing that. So it's kind of nice to get back on the bicycle and ride around the block.
Well, again, the new album, Science Fiction, is out now. And I know it's a solo album, Tom, so are you doing everything solo, or do you have some people helping you out with this one?
The only other people recorded on the album are some backing vocalists. Otherwise, I played everything and sang everything myself. And partly because I'm perfectly happy to work on my own, things get done that way. But also, I'm traveling all the time. So the old way of working, when you booked into a sound studio for 3 or 4 months to make an album, that doesn't happen for me anymore. I have to work as I'm traveling. So luckily, laptop studio technology is so good now that I can take a project wherever I'm going and be constantly updating it, adding to it, trying out ideas. And so the album kind of accumulated itself over to a couple of years, really, in between lots of touring and other recording projects.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know you mentioned it's kind of like riding a bike, and back with the Thompson Twins, you guys were a big hit internationally, during the run, and I always remember you guys playing at Live Aid. You guys were so big around that time, and as you mentioned, kind of getting back on the bike and getting back into the swing of things.
That's right. Well, it's like an old friend that you bump into. There's lots to talk about. It's a very energizing experience. So for me, it's not in any way a chore. I'm loving every second of it, and that's the way it should be.
Well, Tom, I know you're playing with Boy George and the B-52s, and you guys are playing pretty much right through the summer here and into the new year.
That's right. Well, we don't sit down until the end of December, and then I'm going to take a bit of a break and do some more recording.
So with the live shows, I know you're probably playing a lot of the new stuff from Science Fiction. Are you playing a lot of the old stuff too, mixing it in?
Yeah, of course. It kind of depends how much time we have in a set. If there's lots of time, then I can include more new stuff. But I do know that the old fans from the 80s want to hear the hits too, so I have to do that. And it's a great pleasure. So a mix of the two.
Well, with those early songs, I know you just, as you mentioned, started playing them for the first time live only a few years ago. Was it hard to get into those old songs? I know you are the kind of guy where a lot of people driving around in their cars, try to hit those high notes. And is it tough to get those songs?
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed contemporizing them, coming up with versions that we would never have done in the 80s, if you like. But the songs are very clearly, recognizably the same songs, because I know people want to hear that, and they also want to sing along. Most of the high notes are within range still, so I'm lucky.
Well, Tom, you've obviously been in the thick of things, since back in the late 70s. What are you thinking now? I guess you mentioned the laptop recording. Obviously, it's much different now. What are your thoughts, I guess, on the pop music scene itself? Do you keep up on that at all?
Well, a little bit, partly by accident and partly of necessity. But I mean, the thing is, pop music has changed in so many ways. There's a big discussion we can get into now. But I mean, I think the first thing is that pop music is the kind of cute cousin of rock music, has a little bit lost its way in terms of it being the rebellious vehicle of change. I mean, I remember when rock music was all about making the world a better place, refusing to accept the deal we'd been given, and in a way, in the best possible way, shaking our fist and saying, no, that's not good enough. We want more than that. And every piece of music, for me, is driven by that need to be free and need to liberate everyone around. I wonder now that songs are written by committees and bands are created by marketing companies.
Sure.
Whether that's the same, if it carries the same spirit. That does bother me. But to look on the good side, I think one amazing thing we've just been talking about, in fact, is that, for example, teenagers today have at their fingertips the entire recorded history of music.
Sure.
Which is just an amazing thing. We never had that. And so it's bound to be influential in a much more profound way. And I think that's a wonderful thing. The kids that really get into music have an enormous treasure trove to delve into.
Definitely. Well, again, Tom, the new album, Science Fiction, sounds great. And it's been an honor speaking with you today. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. You take care now.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.